What's up? What's up, everyone? I made a video before and I just couldn't, it didn't upload properly, so I'm gonna do this again. And this is my first time introducing you how to take advantage of weekend gaps, gaps that is created during weekend in futures, in forex, commodities, and indices, and as well as stocks and others. So for now, I'm going to discuss just one asset today, or one script, that will be gold. But at the same time, the weekend gap created in every assets, like in stocks, forex, and commodities and indices. So for now, again, we're going to discuss only gold. And so weekend gaps, first of all, we have to understand how are gaps created during weekend. Why is it created? How is it created? So right now we're looking at gold futures, and futures markets are open 24/7. Basically, it's only closed during the weekend. So basically it gets closed around 5 o'clock on Friday, and then it reopens Sunday evening around 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. So when it closes on Friday and opens on Sunday evening, there's a huge gap that gets created almost every weekend. If you look here, there is a gap that was created just this weekend, and then there was another gap that was created right around here. So first of all, we're going to go with this. We're going to discuss the first gap, and similarly we go back to the three gaps that I'm going to discuss today. All right, so what are the gaps? Is there a trading activity that takes place during weekend, or why is there a gap during weekend? So first of all, let me quickly let you know what the gaps are. And all right, so this is what gap is. Gaps in future markets during the weekend occur due to new information entering the market while trading is halted. So basically there are few factors because of which the gaps are created. First one is market sentiments. There is a huge changes in investor sentiments due to news that can lead to price adjustment. Now, these sentiments could be, you know, president of any country declaring some kind of war, or some kind of, like recently we have a war that Trump has been, you know, creating with Iran, and there has been Caesar war. Sometimes they're going to continue. So these kind of sentiments actually, this kind of news actually impacts the sentiments of the investor, because of which the huge gaps gets created during the weekend. So the bigger the gap, the bigger the sentiment. You can call that as well. All right. So during this weekend we had a huge gap, so probably a big news. Now the investor sentiment. The second thing is the volatility. The introduction of new information can risk increased market volatility. So whenever there is kind of geopolitical news or any kind of big news that happens during the weekend, there is a huge volatility in the market that gets created, because of which the gaps during the weekends get created. Now, does trading take place during the weekend? So far, the information that I have is the trading gets halted, but maybe, you know, there are orders that gets placed. The investors, they since the news, because of the news, either they, you know, take their profit or book their loss, and because of which the gaps get created. Now, that's not the question. The question is, the gaps that get created every weekend, and when does that fill, and exactly where you should take the position from which, you know, entry position from which it can go up or down and fill the gap. Now in this case, so what we're going to discuss is the entry position that we're going to take in this in this for which or from which the gaps get filled. So we're going to go to the 1 hour time frame. The reason I'm going to go to the 1 hour time frame is because there was a pivot that got created at 1 hour time frame during UK session. So when the UK session, there's a huge surge in volume, and there was a perfect pivot that was created. And so this kind of pivots, now pivot are it's a red candle followed by green. Now there are more details into it to understand the pivot, because you cannot just red and green just cannot be, this cannot be a pivot. There has to be a particular structures in pivot, particular measurement, particular wick. There are more details into pivot. Basically, my point is the entry, trying to find the best entry. Now in this case, the entry was formed when 1 hour pivot was created during UK session. Now you do have to look at different time frame, like 4 hour, 30 minutes, 50 minutes, whichever has the best pivot or best structure. From there on, you can take your position or your entry. So coming back to this one, there was a 1 hour pivot that was created during UK session. Now the way you can take entry is you have to put your entry right around here, right at the bottom of the pivot, almost at the bottom of the pivot, and you have to put your stop loss just below this one, just this one. So the expectation is that there was a pivot created. It's gonna go retrace back, hit around this area, and it's gonna go back and fill this gap. So fill this gap. So in this case, the perfect scenario, if it happened, was there was a risk reward of about 1:8. So that's $800 for every $100 invested. So that's how it happened this weekend. Now we're going to go back to a weekend before that. Now there was another gap. It wasn't a huge gap that you see. It wasn't a huge gap, but there was a gap from Friday to Sunday evening. It went up over here and then it came down. Now you have to understand, why did it go up till here and came back down? And the reason is there is some kind of zone here that I'm going to show you right now. But you will have to learn to understand this, because I will not be able to tell you in details the type of zones. But yes, I can teach you that in one-on-one session. Basically, that's my idea of sharing this today. There was some kind of zone that was created. So when the weekend gap got created, it went back up, and there was an order that was the zone that was created during a US session, and the gap went up, filled this zone, and it came back and filled the gap again. So in this case, you could take your entry, or put your entry right around here, stop loss, and take profit would be around the gap that was created. So in this case, you're looking at a potential return of about 1:4. You could still go further, but to be more conservative, you're just looking for the gap to fill. So you're looking at a potential return of 1:4 here. Now your question is this entry, from which how to take this entry. This is the question, and this is where you have to learn how to do that, because what I have learned from my experience is, because there was a zone, there was a gap, what do you call, unfilled orders that was there during the US session, and when the Sunday gap up happened, it filled the unfilled order, and it went back down. So this is now let's look at another gap that was created 2 weeks before that. This is another gap that was created. Market opened on, yes, closed on Friday, opened on Sunday. There was a huge gap down, And why did it go up from here? The reason it went back up from here is there is another pivot right here, as you see. This is what we call a pivot. Now again, you might not be able to understand the details in pivot. Pivots are basically an area where there are unfilled orders. We call it a zone as well. And this is a perfect scenario again from which it went back and filled the gap. So on this case, you could look for your entry should be right around here. You could look a potential return of 1:5 on 1:3. Yes, depending upon. So this is just once a week that you have to do. That's 4 times a week, 4 times a month. And if you just do that, and if you compound that, with the maintaining a risk management, you will be able to make immense amount of immense amount of money in long term. Starting with a small amount, maintaining your risk, and just doing once a week. Yeah, and after that you can do your regular job. If you have student, you can do your regular studies or whatever you do during the weekdays. You can do it without any disturbance. In the meantime, you just wait for the weekend, let the gap created during weekend, and then wait for the perfect structure from which you take the entry, and thereafter the gaps get filled. Now this is just on the goal. It happens on all the pairs like forex, commodities, and indices. Now your learning should be from where you should take the entry and why the entry happens on particular area. The particular area is where the pivots are formed or the zones are formed. Now there is actually a zone that was formed at 6 hour on this one, and pivot at 1 hour as well. So these are the details that you have to learn. If you want, I'm here to help you with 101 session to help you understand this simple concept of from where to take the entry once a week when the zone is formed on any pairs. So yes, you can leave a comment, or and in case if you're interested in learning about this, which you can do just once a week, a simple concept, but at the same time is a huge opportunity that happens every weekend that you can take advantage of, maintaining a risk reward, because there is a way to maintain your risk reward to take advantage of it. And if you do that consistently just every weekend, for months and months, and if you know the power of compounding, this could generate a potential great amount of return in long term. And once again, you have to do it just during the weekends, once a week. Take advantage of the gap that's created every weekend, and gap is an opportunity it's a huge opportunity that if you are able to take advantage of it properly. So once again, if you want to learn about this, about taking the best entry when the gap is created, you can leave a comment, and you can offer a one-on-one session. I'll be here to help you with that. Hope to hear from you. Hope you like this video. This is my first video on weekend gap that I've created, that I see a lot of potential, and I've back tested, and the things that I've learned from from best of the teachers in the world, I would say best of the trading legends that I've learned this process. Hope you like it, and hope